adverse changes in the physical, chemical, and the biological composition of that of that resource, then that is known as the pollution. Similarly, in case of air, then it's the contamination in the physical, biological, or the chemical composition of the air, then it is termed as air pollution. So we can see one image in the background where truck is going with jhoom barabar jhoom and dhua barabar dhua at the backside. It's there, okay. And another important thing is, like, if we talk about, like, to understand air pollution, we also have to have a bit idea about the composition of the air. Anyone would like to say, or anyone would like to share, what do you think is air composed of? Yes. Oh, I have shared the screen, but isn't it visible? Wait. Okay, there is an error. I'm sorry. Wait, I'll try to share it again. Yeah, I hope now it's visible. Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. So I was asking the question, like, if I ask you what is the composition of the air, not the polluted air, of course, the normal air. Anyone would like to tell, and anyone would like to try what is the composition of that?
As we all know that there's 78% of nitrogen and
Right.
around 21% of oxygen and 0.03% of carbon dioxide and 0.9% of argon and like
Right.
rest of the other gases. So this is like smog and everything. If we want to include in pollution, then but if we talk in terms of like what is the air composed of, then yes,
Fine.
this is.
Very good, Pallavi. Okay. So normally we know, and we are studying this. We are being told about the composition in our elementary and secondary education, that it is chiefly composed of nitrogen, followed by 21% of approximate 21% of oxygen, and rest amount is composed of the inert gases like argon and xenon and radon, some radioactive gases, and 0.01% of carbon dioxide. And of course, these are the gases, but we still have several particles which are suspended in the form of dust particles, which are suspended in the form of pollens, which are also suspended in the form of the allergens, which we usually see it as allergens. So those seeds are also suspended in air, and pathogens are also suspended in the air. Say, for example, if I ask you what is the composition of air right now, so you can add coronavirus also in the air composition. So depending upon, this is the overall composition of the air. Now, when I say, or when I, depending upon the place where we are talking about, say, for example, if I talk about a bog or a marshy area or a rice field, then in that air, part of methane will also be there. Okay. Now, if I talk about the air around the volcanic region, then there that will contain some amount of sulfur dioxide, also nitrogen oxide, also, and other hydrocarbon gases also. Okay. Now, when I talk about air pollution, where, of course, and when is it said to be as air pollution? When there are certain components in the air which starts affecting our health, or which starts affecting the overall chemistry of the overall chemistry of the air. Okay, so now you already know how the photochemical smoke reactions are happening. So and how the acid rain is happening. So all those are because of those pollutants. So those are not known to be as pollutants, and this change in the composition of the air with which it starts affecting the health of both the human beings and all the other living beings is said to be as the air pollution. Okay. So we need to first understand what are the pollutants, or what are the type of pollutants. So these are primary and secondary pollutants. Listen it carefully. Okay, जो यहाँ सुनोगे वो यहीं याद हो जाएगा. Now, primary pollutants are those which are directly emitted from the source. Secondary pollutants are those जो primary pollutants के react होने पर they will form your other pollutants which will further deteriorate the quality of the air. And if you recall the reactions when we were discussing about photochemical smog, सो वहाँ पर हम नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड, सल्फर ऑक्साइड, नाइट्रस ऑक्साइड और हाइड्रोकार्बन्स जिनके बारे में बात कर रहे थे, their source of emission was directly from fossil fuel burning, either from transportation or from industrial thing. But during their reactions, we also saw that ozone formation was happening, photochemical, your peroxyacetyl nitrate was being formed, and photochemical smog was also being formed. Because they are formed as a result of reactions between these primary pollutants, therefore they are said to be as your secondary pollutants. So if your question comes at is ozone a secondary or a primary pollutant, then of course it's a secondary pollutant, and we have seen that in the reaction when we were in the photochemical smog reaction. Okay, so based on, now there is huge list of these pollutants. Okay, now in order to and like we have discussed about the criteria and the parameters to check the quality of the water, similarly there are the criterion pollutants which are compulsory to mention, or which are compulsory criteria to determine the quality of the air. These are your 7 criterions, okay? And they are said to be as your criterion air pollutants. Now, if some of you who see this newspaper cuttings, then you can see, especially in the Times of India and Hindu, उसमें आप देखोगे कि जब वेदर रिपोर्ट आप जाओगे, सो वहां पर जहां पे वो पर्टिकुलेट मैटर वगैरह देते, दे आर इन वेरी स्मॉल, दे गिव द वैल्यू ऑफ SO2, CO, नाइट्रोजन ऑक्साइड एटसेट्रा. ओके, तो ये जो है, दीज आर ऑल क्राइटेरियन एयर पोल्यूटेंट्स, जिसके बेसिस पर ही हम ये कह सकते हैं कि वेदर एयर इज क्लीन और नॉट. These 7 has to be defined. Okay, now in this list there is particulate matter, which is again of 2 types, PM10 and PM2.5. Then there is ozone, although it's a secondary pollutant, but of course it is one of the chief causal agent for your in photochemical smog formation, so that is also counted. Then of course carbon monoxide, because CO2 तो आपका toxic नहीं है, CO2 is not a toxic air, because it's part of your natural air composition, so it's not an air pollutant. But carbon monoxide is an air pollutant because it suffocates us. Okay? Then of course sulfur oxides, the oxides of sulfur and oxides of nitrogen. Okay, why oxides of sulfur and nitrogen, they are primary or the criterion air pollutants, because ये आपके acid rain और दूसरे reactions में participate करते हैं, like nitrogen oxide was participating in the formation of your smog. Okay, now 6th comes is lead. The question comes, why lead has been added? कि चलो सल्फर डाइऑक्साइड समझ में आ रहा है, नाइट्रोजन डाइऑक्साइड समझ में आ रहा है, CO, पार्टिकुलेट मैटर, ओजोन वगैरह सब समझ में आ रहा है, ये लेड अचानक से कहां से कूद पड़ा? दिस इज एन हेवी मेटल, बट ऑफ कोर्स इट्स इन फॉर्म ऑफ योर वेपर्स. एनीवन? कैन एनीवन टेल? Yeah.
मैम रेडियो एक्टिव है.
ओके, ठीक है, थैंक यू. ओके, एनीवन एल्स? अच्छा चलो, ये आप ऐसे बता पाओगे. अगर एक इमीडिएटली पूछा जाए कि एयर पोल्यूशन का चीफ कॉज क्या है, एनीवन? Two chief causes are there. अब घर तो हम नहीं कह सकते.
Vehicles.
Exactly, perfect. Vehicular emission, and second is your industrial emissions. ठीक, अब इंडस्ट्रीज में बहुत सारे इंडस्ट्रीज में बहुत सारे एक्टिविटीज आ जाएंगी. Your mining activities are also there. Proper industries are there. Manufacturing units are there, and even that production of the thermal power, they are also one part of your industrial part. ठीक, तो मेजर आपका vehicular emission and industrial emissions, ये दोनों सबसे ज्यादा causing agents हैं. Then we will also see that there are other small causing agents also, but there is one important responsible factor which has now started adding up in your air pollution and contributing in your air pollution. We will discuss it later. ठीक, उस vehicular emission में, if you remember, पहले आपके पेट्रोल में एक लीडेड पेट्रोल, अनलीडेड पेट्रोल करके पेट्रोल पंप्स पे लिखा होता था. And the reason is because this lead was a chief ingredient in your fossil fuel. Okay. Now the question comes that why why is lead added in the fossil fuel? क्या fossil fuel की natural composition में lead is there? No. Actually, fossil fuel has a very high ignition point. ठीक, तो उनका कैलोरिफिक वैल्यू बहुत हाई होता है, तो जरा से इग्नाइट करने पर दे रिलीज ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ हीट. उस हीट से your engine used to get affected, the life of the engine used to get affected. उसको रिड्यूस करने के लिए दे एडेड दिस लेड. ठीक है, सो वो उसके कैलोरिफिक वैल्यू को हल्का सा लोअर करके उसको एकदम जो बर्न करके ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ एनर्जी निकालता था उसको कंट्रोल करता था. ठीक है, दैट इज नोन एज योर लेड इज आल्सो नोन एज योर एंटी नॉकिंग एजेंट. ठीक, इसलिए ये लेड डाला जाता था पेट्रोल्स में और फॉसिल फ्यूल्स में, स्पेशली फॉर योर व्हीकल पर्पसेस. And therefore, along with the fossil fuel and all the sulfur oxide, nitrogen oxide, etc., this lead used to easily come from that. That is why it has been added in your criterion and pollutants. First, and second, आपके paint industry or your paint industries and your varnishes, etc., they also use good amount of lead. Although now they have all started using substituents for that and they don't use lead in that amount. Fossil fuel में भी अभी lead नहीं डलता है. They are using certain other knocking agents, but this is still a very important criteria to determine the quality of the air. Okay, and then of course there is volatile organic compounds. Now volatile organic compounds are formed from hydrocarbons. Although volatile organic compounds are also secondary pollutants. ठीक, because we remember that हमारे जब हम photochemical smoke का reaction पढ़ रहे थे, the nitrous oxide free radical, it reacted with the hydrocarbons that had led to the formation of PAN, peroxyacetyl nitrate, and volatile organic compounds. Now volatile organic compounds नाम से ही समझ में आ रहा है कि ये है तो organic compounds but in a volatile form, यानी कि vapor form में है. And that is why they are suspended in the air and they form the part of your air composition. And of course, organic compounds are very harmful if we talk about because they are part of huge. They're a big part of your chemical industry. Okay? Then there are certain other pollutants also which are not in the criteria air pollutants. Like for example, your benzene is there, and your ammonia is there, and then the vapors of nitrate and your phosphate are also there, which are coming from your fertilizer industry, etc. So these all are the pollutants which are polluting your air. Okay. Now we will focus more on your particulate matter PM10 and PM2.5. Okay. Now what does it mean by PM10 and PM2.5? Now PM2.5 means that the size of the particle, dust particle, or any particle that is forming that is polluting that air composition, it's less than 2.5 micrometer. Okay, and PM10 implies that the size is equal to or less than that of 10 micrometer. Okay? Now 10 micrometer is of course a bigger size as compared to that of your 2.5 micrometer. Okay, so ये कितना बड़ा है? We will just see how much bigger this PM2.5 is there, or how much smaller this PM2.5 is there. So can anyone tell जब Delhi air pollution and these things were happening, जो हम PM का level पढ़ते थे 330, 450, 550 something, what was that? PM10, PM2.5, or what was that? Yeah, anyone? हमें ये याद है, ठीक है, कि हम उस समय देखते थे 350 ppm हो गया, इतना ppm हो गया. That was the measurement of PM, that is particulate matter. Can anyone tell what was that particulate matter? It was PM10 or PM2.5? Very good, Neha. Yes, it was 2.5. Now the question comes, why not PM10 and PM2.5 is taken into account? Anyone? Any guesses? Yeah. Okay. Because PM2.5, चलो ठीक है, इसको भी मैं रहस्य रहने देती हूँ. We will disclose it in coming slides. Okay. So let's have a glimpse of on a few minutes. in deeper knowledge and a deeper understanding about your primary air pollutants. Now, carbon dioxide, of course, it's not a primary pollutant, but it is part of your greenhouse gas emission. So it shouldn't be taken in primary pollutant. Carbon monoxide is, of course, but still, we need to understand that currently our composition of CO2 is 405 ppm. Okay. So last to last centuries, this was around some 360, and I think in just 10 years of time, this has increased 100 ppm. Okay. Now this is an important measurement because इससे आपको greenhouse gas की composition का या amount का पता चलता है CO2 से. ठीक. Let's come to main primary pollutant, that is sulfur oxides or the oxides of sulfur. Naturally, volcanic activities are the one, and some decomposition activities by microorganisms. But in natural, when they talk about anthropogenic reasons, then it is because of your fossil fuel, either it's coal or petroleum, and the mining activities like sulfur mines, okay, which are generating that. And of course, if there is some chemical industry which is using sulfur, then from there your sulfur oxides will be formed. Okay. Next come your oxides of nitrogen. Now, oxides of nitrogen also have the same source like that of your sulfur, and it can easily be seen. जो reddish brownish tinge देखते हैं ना smoke में या जो धुएं में, that is because of this nitrogen oxide. Okay, and they have a very, very sharp odor is there. Okay, now carbon monoxide is what? This CO2 only, when there is the oxygen supply is less, gets changed into CO. Okay, or vice versa can happen. When the oxygen supply is good, the CO changes into CO2. Now, carbon monoxide, interestingly, is very odorless and colorless, and therefore we cannot identify it. But that suffocation feeling is because of mainly of carbon monoxide, because it has 1,000 times more capacity in comparison to oxygen to dissolve in the blood. So it easily replaces the oxygen and it combines with the hemoglobin to form carboxyhemoglobin, with which the person suffocates. And the best example of this is, remember हम लोग physics में पढ़ा करते थे वो बंद कमरे में अंगीठी नहीं जलाना चाहिए, and what was the reason? It was because क्योंकि उस अंगीठी जलाने के प्रोसेस में CO2 बनता था, और चूंकि कमरा बंद रहता था तो CO2 ऑक्सीजन के एब्सेंस में या कमी होने की वजह से that CO2 used to change in CO, and this CO it used to dissolve with our blood, which causes a suffocation and finally the death. सोते सोते में ही इंसान ऊपर भगवान प्यारा हो जाता था because of this carbon monoxide. So this carbon monoxide is one of the chief component or primary pollutant also, and of course इसका भी source वही है जो आपके sulfur oxides और nitrogen oxides का है, that is fossil fuel burning. Okay. Now, volatile organic compounds, they are also important, although they are secondary air pollutants, and they are of different types. They can be methane, they can be non-methane compounds. So broadly, methane को इसलिए categorize किया गया क्योंकि methane is the chief component of your greenhouse gas. So either it's methane or it's the non-methane one. Okay? And they comprise of several compounds: benzene, toluene, xylene, and they're very, very, they have a carcinogenic property, and they can also cause this white blood disorder, which is known as a leukemia, if the prolonged exposure is there. Okay, and particulate matter we have already dealt with. Actually, most of the symptoms that we see in form of asthma and breathing problems, that is because of your particulate matter. What are they? We will now focus and concentrate on this particulate matter. Okay, so let's understand the data. Okay, now because of this particulate matter, 29% of all the deaths and diseases happening due to lung cancer because of this particulate matter. Okay, also 17% because of this low respiratory infection, from stroke, from the ischemic heart diseases. Ischemic means when the improper pumping of heart takes place, uski wajah se death, or from pulmonary diseases, and the chief cause to them goes to your air pollution and particulate matter. So what is the size of particulate matter? If this is what we think, red particles ko hum maan lete hain ki these are your PM2.5, then the size of PM2.5 is somewhere here. Now if we take this human hair diameter, this is around 60 micrometer. PM10 is 10 micrometer, and see PM2.5. So you can imagine with the dia of your human hair and this PM2.5. And that is why PM2.5 is very important, because it easily goes into our lungs, become part of the alveoli, and it chokes the system. अब ये PM 2.5 में कुछ भी हो सकता है. It can be the vapors of the gases, it can be the particles in the form of dust, it can be in the form of pollens, etc. Pollens के खैर बहुत बड़े साइज होते हैं, but generally आपके PM 2.5 में आपके dust particles, sediment particles, and it can also include the mixture of vapors of your gases. ठीक है, so this is the fine size. और PM 10 के लिए possibility है कि वो इतना deep ना जा सके, and it probably can be filtered out by the hairs that are there in the nose and then the nasal chambers and the filters that are there. But PM 2.5 को रोकने का बहुत साहस चाहिए because it can easily go into the system. ठीक है, so that is why PM 2.5 is important, and in that term only the measurement is done. Okay? Let's talk about the air quality standard index. This is of course known as your air quality index. और ये जो 0 to 50 है, this is measurement of PM 2.5. Okay, so in India it's said that 0 to 50, और हम कह सकते हैं कि 0 to 200 is okay, fine, ठीक, and after 200 it's poor, wherein 400 to 500 it's severe, और जितने भी इंस्ट्रूमेंट बने वो 900 या 999 के ऊपर मेजर नहीं कर सकते, ठीक, and then there is time when certain cities and several cities in India had crossed this benchmark of 999. Pathetic air condition nowhere in the world, ठीक. So